You are now listening to the In the Studio podcast with your host, Dwayne Austin. My guest today has been often called the hardest working woman in underground soul. Please help me welcome Miss Sy Smith. Thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate it. I want to get started by asking you a question that I ask pretty much everyone I interview. And that is
Okay.
simply, when did you know that this is what you wanted to do with your life?
Um, what's funny? My mother sent me a drawing that I did when I was probably 10 years old. And the drawing looks like a scene from the show Fame.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like a stage and there's a dancer, doing a pirouette and there's singers and somebody's playing a guitar or something and it says music is my life. So, you could say that maybe I knew by the time I was about 10 years old, 9 or 10. But I didn't really make a conscious decision to pursue music as a career until probably my junior year in college.
Okay.
So, yeah, yeah.
And it's funny that you know, you automatically talk about the music, but I've been reading up and you do so much or you have done so much. I mean, not just the music, but you're an accomplished actress and everything. Like, how do you find the time?
Thank you. You, how do you find the time? I think you make the time for the things that you love to do, you know?
It's true.
You don't really have to find the time when it's something that you really love doing. It's something that you have to do, you know?
Right.
So I've never really found myself having to, find the time or create, or whatever. I just wake up and try to you know, be whatever I'm gonna be.
I can dig it. Now, I saw that you have acting credits on How I Met Your Mother. Now, that is my favorite TV show. I watched that entire thing, and I guess I wasn't looking for you, so I didn't see you. But I mean, tell me about that experience because now I'm gonna have to go back and find you.
I think I did 2 episodes of that show. It was a scene. Actually like I think the first one I did was a cruise ship scene or something like that. And it was like a band situation, and there were 3 singers, me and 2 other young ladies, Nikki Greer and Shannon Pearson. And I really can't tell you the plot of that particular episode. I just remember, oh man, I can't even remember this. I just remember it being funny and silly and, just a lot of fun. And then the word toilet was involved. I remember that. Toilet. Did we sing something about a commode or a toilet? I don't know. And and the second episode that we did was, and I say we, meaning the other 2 singers and I, because it was like the 3 of us. We kind of appeared as these, the 3 singers.
Uh huh.
Was um, the bad boy chef. Something about a bad boy chef. I can't remember again, the plot. Don't be mad if I tell you I don't really watch the show, but I just remember it was like something the bad boy chef because that's what we sang, whatever his name was, something bad boy chef. That's all I remember, and this guy rolls up on a motorcycle,
That's okay
and
though.
we
Now I have
yeah.
good reference points to go find you because I definitely
That helps.
remember the cruise scene.
The cruise, yeah, uh-huh, okay. So then that was that episode.
Oh, that is awesome. So kind of get back on track. You worked with a lot of artists along the way. I mean, in various capacities. And
Yeah.
I know, when I have spoken with artists, they always talk about how experiences like that help them, move forward in their own career. And I imagine it's the same for you. So, particularly, I want to know about Whitney Houston. Like, what was that like?
It was amazing. I mean, to be honest, I was so young at the time and so green and so, just new to the whole thing that I was rather oblivious to sort of the bigger picture of where I was and what I was doing,
Right.
Um, so my experience with Whitney was through the lens of just a just like a deer just kind of in the woods, just like a baby
Right.
deer in the woods, just like, oh, there's a leaf. I'm gonna go over there and eat it. And there's some more deer over here. Let me go kick it with them. It wasn't like through the eyes of the mother deer.
Right.
And so I was really taken in by the other members of the band who really sort of treated me like a little sister, and they still do to this day. Sherry Johnson and Paul Jackson Jr. and Bet Sussman and Michael Baker and of course Ricky Minor, the music director. Um, we all remain pretty close to this day, and they were just so loving and supportive of me and helped me sort of get my bearings in that environment. I learned so much about touring, from her tour manager, and just to be part of an operation that big. It was probably good that I was as oblivious as I was, but in retrospect, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. You know what I mean?
Right.
In retrospect, it's like you were singing soprano with Whitney Houston, you know, and my first show was live on HBO in my
Wow.
hometown of Washington, D.C. at Constitution Hall. It was just an amazing sort of thing. It's an amazing thing to look back on and understand way more clearly what scale that was. And of course Whitney herself, like she was still in very good voice and just, she, she was amazing to watch. Sometimes I would be on stage and just watching her sing, from behind and just seeing her body go through the changes that she would go to because it's such a physical activity. It's such a whole body experience, and watching her work a stage and watching her milk a song and milk a lyric and milk a word, just I watched her like a microscope, you know what I mean?
Right.
Because every gesture and every move, as subtle as certain things might have been, to me were just grand. It's the best schooling that one can have. It was really the best schooling that anybody could have gone to. Like, I went to Howard, I'm proud of that, but I also went to the University of Whitney Houston. you know.
It's funny that you mentioned that you could see her, go through the physical motions because it didn't sound like it didn't sound like she put any effort into singing. Like she just
That's
opened
the
her mouth
trick.
and man,
That's the trick, though, is a good singer makes it look easy.
that's true.
And that's why I said as subtle as some of the motions might have been, I watched them like a microscope. Probably your casual listener doesn't necessarily see that. And plus, like I said, I'm watching from the back, so I can see I can see the whole back working. you know.
Right.
Um, so yeah, but that's the gag, honey. It's like making what we do look easy is why everybody thinks they can do it.
I think you have mastered that. I mean, I haven't seen you perform in person, but I've jumped on your Facebook lives and stuff like that, and it doesn't seem like you put much effort into it too. I mean, is it because of being able to see that in other artists, or is it just natural for you?
Um, First of all, you haven't seen me live. What's going on? Where's the love? How come you haven't seen me live
Well,
yet?
honestly, you came to DC once, and I'll just say my life at the time did not allow me to go to that performance. There were just
Okay.
things going on, but
Okay.
I really tried when you came to DC.
Well, I've come to DC numerous times, but I'll let you off the hook
I believe
today.
you are performing at Blues Alley.
Yes, I've been there several
Yeah.
times. I come there at least once a year.
Oh, that's
But
good. Well, I'm in Vegas
I,
now, so it's going to be even harder to get there. But
yeah, it is. But to answer your question about making it look easy, for me, I don't know. Do I make it look easy? I'm not even aware that I do. I think what it is I I kind of stick to telling the stories that I know I can tell
hmm
vocally. So, you don't necessarily see me jumping into lanes that I don't normally drive. You know what I mean? And so
I
maybe,
understand.
but that doesn't mean that I stay in a comfort zone because that wouldn't be true either. Um, so yeah, maybe a part of that is, maybe I have learned how to make certain things look easier than they are. Um, but because I don't think necessarily that showing the effort is part of telling the story. But sometimes showing the effort is part of telling the story. So I might, it just really depends on what I'm doing and what I'm singing.
I can dig that. So, I don't know. Most people that follow you, I hope they would know just how much music you've put out. And I was listening to. Actually, I just kind of went to cyberspace,
Hmm.
in preparation for the interview, and I'm listening to just about all of it. Well, I have everything. I'll just be honest. I have everything. So I'm just
Okay.
kind of going through, picking songs that I like, picking songs that I didn't realize I haven't heard yet.
Hmm.
And the biggest thing that I took from that is how versatile your style seems. Like I heard songs that reminded me of hip hop. I've heard songs that reminded me of straight R&B. Like,
Yeah.
is that part of your influence? I mean, I can imagine the time coming up might have something to do with that. But just as an artist, how much influence goes into something like that? Like how you actually
Um,
present your music.
yeah, I mean, all of the influences that you hear are the sounds that I authentically come from, and the sounds that I grew up listening to and admiring, or uh, you know, the sounds that sort of shaped my audio, you know, landscape. So I draw from them, and I draw from all of them. You know what I mean? I, you might hear lately maybe more of a jazz sort of uh, texture happening, like on sometimes the rose will grow on concrete on that album. In some places on that album, because I just come off of doing 7 years on the road with Chris Cody. You know what I mean? So
Right.
there, kind of my immediate experience tends to feed what I'm doing sonically. Um, you're always going to hear a hip hop influence because I'm such a B girl at heart. Uh, there will always be an element of go-go in my live shows because I'm from DC and that's what I do. And that's what I love. You'll hear sometimes in my sort of vocal arrangements, you'll hear some like classical influences and stuff because I've studied piano, for years and sang classical music for, most of my childhood. Uh,
Hmm.
so all of these things will definitely come to play in the way that I shape my songs, very much so.
Right. So let's
Yeah.
talk about your album. Title is Sometimes a Rose Will Grow in Concrete. I know there's a story behind that. It,
Yeah.
yeah, it just doesn't seem like a title that comes out of nowhere.
You know what though, Dwayne? It kind of did. That
Really?
it really did. I was sitting at the piano, uh, and the lick came to me, ba-da-da-da, ba-da, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sha-da-dee-da-dee-da, ba-da-dee-da-dee-da, sha-da-dee-da-dee-da, ba-da-dee-da-dee-da. And so as I was playing that phrase, da-da-dee-da-da-da, I wanted to sing something against it. And so melodically, my head just went, so should I go over to the piano? No, I don't need to go over to the piano. But so melodically, I wanted to sing something counter to that, that phrase rhythmically. Uh,
Okay.
so, so my head just went, you know, and before the words came to me, that sort of that melody came to me, and but it wasn't that much longer after I sang that melody that I just kind of went, sometimes on roses growing concrete, sometimes a cage bird will sing, and I kind of mumbled it, I didn't really have the lyric fleshed out, but I mumbled those words, and I was like, well, that's something,
Right.
and where is that coming from, and what is this about to be? Um, and I just sat there and sort of played with that phrase. Sometimes a rose will grow in concrete, sometimes a cage bird will sing, sometimes the whole can be incomplete, sometimes the captive don't complain. And I was like, okay, this is a song about contradiction. This is a song about, sort of taking concepts that you think and flipping them on their heads to reveal something that's actually there that you might not have seen before. Maybe the
Right.
captives don't complain, but maybe you're just not listening. Maybe, yeah, maybe that's concrete that you see, but maybe a flower can grow from that. And I just explored that concept more and more until all the words came. But to be honest with you, that song wasn't. I didn't have to labor over that. Like it was in me. Some ancestral spirit wanted me to tell that story, because I really didn't belabor the lyrics on that much at all. It just really came, and it wasn't until after I finished writing it that I realized, like, of course, Maya Angelou and Tupac have sort of, this is not a new concept, concrete roses.
Right.
Um, so there's that. But I think my approach to it was a little different than other ones that I had seen, because mine wasn't really about, you know, asserting anything so much as it was about contemplating how and why, these things exist.
I got you. So, talking about songwriting, I ask this because I write poetry and I've always wanted to write songs, but I feel it's hard for me because I don't play any instruments. I wanted to ask you, like, do you think it would be possible to do something like that, not being able to play instruments, or is that
Uh,
pertinent, or is it really necessary?
it, to write a song without playing instruments?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. There are plenty of songwriters who don't play an instrument, and for that matter, who don't even sing, you know, who write songs. It's absolutely possible. All you have to do, I mean, not all you have to do as though it's a simple thing, but if you can hear it, that's what matters. If you can hear it and you can sort of articulate what you're hearing to someone who can play and who can sing, that certainly helps. But you
Gotcha.
definitely don't have to be a musician of any, sort to write a song, A songwriter, and a musician, it's not a mutually exclusive thing.
Well, I'm glad to hear you say that because it always felt like that, at least for me. Because I really try, and I don't know. It's not. It's like I can't find the rhythm that I feel like I should find when I'm thinking of writing songs as opposed to writing poetry. Because you can just kind of go all over the place with poetry, You don't. I
Right,
mean, even though there is structure, you can really do what you want with that.
right.
But it always seems like music has to follow that that melodic count. I'm not even sure
Well,
what that's called, but
yeah, but that's the thing. Okay, so you can write a song without being a musician or a singer, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't take into account song structure. Like y- your song, a good song that people will be able to sort of understand is a song that does have some structure to it. So even if you're not a musician or a singer, you can still study song structure and to get an understanding of how to write your own songs. That isn't to say you have to match what you study, but you do need to understand the the ways in the different within a song, the different parts relate to each other. The
got
intro,
you.
the verse, the chorus, the pre-chorus, for instance, the bridge, whatever. You kind of have to understand what those things do for each other, and then within a verse, understanding syllables and just rhythmic flow. You still got to be able to, you can't write 50 words in an 8 bar phrase. you
Right.
know, not unless you're like Busta Rhymes to somebody, you know. But even and actually, I mentioned Busta Rhymes and I laugh, but I actually love listening to like rappers and studying, different rappers as far as cadence and that kind of thing is concerned because it's a brilliant way to approach songwriting too, you know.
I can hear that in your music. With some of the
Yeah,
songs that I listen to, yeah, that's what I meant about the hip hop influence. It's
yeah,
like you're rapping to the beat as opposed to
yeah.
just singing over it.
Sometimes I definitely take that approach. Most definitely. Like in Welcome Back, All My Soulmates. I don't know if you know that song, but it's like I'm taking you back to the days that we all remember. About the same time we was dancing in September when we were so black and so proud. Nobody hesitated to say it loud. Before we got caught up in the self-hate. Welcome back, all my soulmates. Like I'm barely singing.
Right. That was
Welcome back on my
nice.
soulmate. Yeah, yeah. I'm taking you back, baby. Suppress, rewind on that little time machine in your mind. Back when other Jacksons were so, so fine. And you and your girl be like, Michael is mine. We watched Soul Train and learned all the moves. Fat Albert in the game, play some funky grooves. We waited for the end to say, hey, hey, hey. Welcome back on my soulmate. Like, I'm barely singing, but it's a very sort of bluesy cadence.
Bluesy. Yes, that's it. That's it. So, out of all the albums that you made, which one would you consider to be your favorite?
Come on, you ask anybody that they're always going to say their latest.
I know, but I just wait
uh,
for someone to hit me with something
to,
different.
to hit you. My favorite? Hmm. I mean, I really do love Sometimes a Rose Will Grow in Concrete because I wrote and produced that whole album myself. And that's the first time I've done that with any
Oh,
of my projects. There's no co-writers, I did all of that and I'm proud of that effort. So I think it might be that one. But I also love conflict and I also love the cyberspace social. So it's a really unfair. It's really unfair to try to choose out of your babies.
that's true. Okay, I won't force that on you then.
Okay.
Um,
Are you from Philly? Where are you from?
I'm from Baltimore.
You from Baltimore? Okay, I can hear it.
Everyone says that. Everyone
Hmm.
says that. And,
Okay.
I listen to Baltimore people and I don't think I sound anything like them. So
I
it's,
mean,
it's
you're not
weird.
you're not deep, Cherry Hill with
Oh, what
it
you know
right
about
now.
Cherry Hill?
My husband is from Cherry Hill.
Oh, for real? Oh, wow.
Yes, 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 yes.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
too
but
cool. Oh, man.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, no, it's cool. It was a question I wanted to ask that I didn't jot down. And now I wish I would have. But let me go back a little bit. So I wanted to talk about as an independent artist dealing with, the current COVID situation. Now, I imagine that most indie artists are probably ahead of the curve in some regard because they're already using the technologies and stuff that, most other artists come around to using when they're forced to, which a situation like this usually does. So I wanted to know, like, because you don't seem to have been phased by it. You just keep going. You use social media and you just keep going. So, like, I guess the question that I'm asking is that something that being an independent artist grants you to have that kind of freedom, or is it just taking advantage of the situation?
Um, I think being an independent artist for as long as I have been an independent artist
Hmm.
has has taught me to be very flexible, in ways that maybe some other artists have not had to be, or it's taught me to rely on alternate means of getting my work out there and producing and being creative uh, in ways that artists that have more support and more of a machine behind them don't necessarily have to be to be as resourceful with. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, so the pandemic, but let me say this: it might look like I'm just kind of like unfazed or whatever, but I go through periods where I'm deeply in a creative funk, and deeply I mean, just shy of depression, not quite depressed, but one step on the wrong side of the bed, and I could easily be that because it's very hard to not be fed the way that you're used to eating, Like I'm so used to being on a stage and getting that immediate sort of gratification that you get when you can sing to a live audience. And that feeds me, that feeds my actual soul. And to not be able to have that for as long as we have been in this uh, is really hard. It's really hard. Um, and on top of that, my engineer moved. He left LA and moved to Baltimore, and so I can't go in a studio and record the way I'd like to. And that sucks the wind out of you. And you have to find another way to get wind. So I think that's what you see me doing
Right.
is finding other sources of wind. You know, so that I can continue to sort of glide and fly when I want. But there's the times that you don't necessarily see are the times when I'm just running trying to find it.
I understand. I
Yeah.
kind of feel like everyone, in some regard, is doing just that.
Mhm. Yeah. Absolutely. And some people are, better at it than others, and some people are just struggling, but what I do know is that lots of artists have been coming together during this pandemic and really helping each other out. And that's a beautiful thing to see and a beautiful thing to be a part of. Um, the conglomerate and the camaraderie of artists, supporting each other has been really, really freaking great.
That's what's up. Um, I also noticed that you've done a lot of covers in your career.
Hmm.
Well, I don't know if it's a lot to me. It may not be to you, but how do you choose which covers that you will
Uh,
actually make?
yeah, it's weird. Like I do a lot of them live, but I don't record that many. Like I can probably count on one hand how many I've actually recorded. That's What I Am, Nights feel like getting down, messages from the stars. When I think of you, feeling good. Did I leave anything out? I did Crazy You for Zoe. That's six.
I
But
didn't even know that
but
was a cover. Wow.
Crazy You?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's Prince. That's from Prince's first album.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, how do I choose what covers to do? I think I just there's a couple of things that go into that. Sometimes I like the idea of just singing a song that nobody expects me to do, you
Mm-hmm.
know? Um, like I used to do a cover of The Dope Show by Marilyn Manson. Nobody expected me to do that, and I used to do Nine Inch Nails
Really?
Closer, and nobody expected me to do that. Um, but so I really sort of like the idea of surprise in that regard. Um, I also like paying homage to artists who, whose work has influenced me. So you'll hear me doing Janet Jackson and, a whole show of Janet Jackson, or Denise Williams or Minnie Riperton, because those are voices and music catalogs that have influenced, my style, everything that I do.
Right.
Um, yeah, and then sometimes I just love the story of a song and I want to tell it too, you know. Uh, so that happens. And then other times other people just tap me and say, "Hey, I'm doing this album and I would love you to do, like Let's Stay Together," which is what happened with Pete Escovedo, for instance. So next thing you know, I'm doing that. Nobody says no to pops.
True.
So, so, so yeah, those are all the things that I take into consideration when I'm choosing a cover.
Okay. Well, I won't hold you much longer, but I really do have just one more question.
Okay.
I wanted to know, what do you have on the horizon? I mean, are you planning stuff for after COVID? Do you have anything that, we can look forward to soon?
Absolutely. Okay, so this week, when I was talking about artists coming together and helping each other out, I was thinking very specifically of Russell Taylor, a good friend of mine. He has a new show that he's launching this week called Soul Versations, and it's going to premiere on YouTube, where Russell interviews another artist and then that artist performs. So, episode one, season one, your girl is the featured person on that episode. So, that is going to launch this Friday. And you can follow soul.versations on IG to find out, or you can just follow Russell Taylor, our soul star, um, to find out more about that. So that's February 5th. February, let me see, I'm going to take you through the month. February 18th is my birthday,
Oh,
and
happy
I
birthday. Let me get that out of the
thank
way.
you, thank you. And you're the first person to actually hear this, but I think I will be launching my new video on that day for my song, my new single, Feeling Good.
I love that
So
song, by
that,
the way.
thank you so much. So yeah, so the video should premiere on February 18th. I'm looking forward to that. And then February 26th through the 28th, I will be live at Middle Sea Jazz in North Carolina, Charlotte, Charlotte, North Carolina. So I get to go on stage in a very safe environment. They do all the precautions that you're supposed to do. So I'm looking forward to that. So that's what's coming up on the immediate horizon. But anything else, like it's really hard for me to think past COVID, like I think like the rest of us, we're just trying to get to the other side. You know what I mean? Like we're just trying to get to the end of the month. I do some workshops, like I'm doing a workshop with the Toledo School of the Arts,
Mm-hmm.
where I'm gonna be working with kids via Zoom. So I've got that kind of thing. I start Wednesday on that. But so I'm doing things like that too. So it's like you might not see a lot of, you know, flyers for that, but there's some of that going on too.
I understand.
Yeah.
Well, ooh, that didn't sound right. Well, I appreciate you again taking time out of your busy schedule to come hang out with me. Before I let you go though, for those who've been hiding under rocks and such, can you just let them know where they can find you so that they too can, be enamored. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. Enamored. That's the word.
Enamored? Oh,
Yes.
that's very kind. That's very kind. Okay, well, let's see. You can start at facebook.com/SciSmithMusic. That's where you'll find me and maybe sometimes Dwayne leaving comments under my posts. So facebook.com/SciSmithMusic. On IG, I am at Cyberspace. That's with an S, SYBERSPACE. On Twitter, I'm also at Cyberspace. If you want to buy my music, you can find it at Bandcamp. That's scysmith.bandcamp.com, or you can just, find me on all of the other platforms. And the easiest thing to do, if you really want to look for me and you can't remember any of this stuff, is to just go to my website. It's scysmith.com, SYSMITH.com.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Oh, and I should let people know this. I have a website where you can buy all of my, my Rose Fist line, my hoodies, t-shirts, vinyl for all of my vinyl connoisseurs, and that's cyberspace.bigcartel.com. Cyberspace.bigcartel.com.
Okay, folks, you heard her. Go to all those sites.